Hello, welcome everybody to episode 151 of Dissonant Waves. And
And now
Hello.
I gotta tell
enough
y'all.
episodes for every Pokemon of the first generation.
Oh shit, you're right. But I also have to tell you a secret. Ritz, Tricks, there's a big secret we need to unveil here.
Yes, unveil it. Unveil it.
We've covered a lot this week. In case it's a surprise, we have outdone ourselves again and have covered a lot.
Yes, we tend to cover a lot.
Indeed, Ritz and Tricks and myself are all here. Regular house today. Not full, not small, just regular. But indeed, Trix has decided to cover Beastie Boys for the first time. We've got their first album
Hell
licensed
yeah.
to Ill, and their album Ill Communication, and, just for fun, the B-Head Mullet Head. B-side Mullet Head.
B-head, mullet side.
Ritz has also done a lot. We've both kind of seemed to have chosen to do a bunch of like emo adjacent stuff, emo related, fifth wave related. Ritz has done the Birthday Cards EP by Doris, the Hand Signals EP, single, whatever, from Ben Quad, Mouses Under the Light of the Air Conditioner, and the new album from Salem's Corydalis, I guess, The Lion Who Shot Back. Meanwhile, I have decided to complete the discography currently of Dan Macy, formerly known as Catching Techniques. We got the first EP. I have a 100 Gex ripoff, Illya, and the new album Duality of Doomsday, along with the album Making a More Consistent Spiral by Elizabeth Whittington, and just to round things out, the Origami Angel Commander Salamander split, Holy Split.
Quite a
Hell
lot.
yeah.
And I think the best way to start here is to start small and go big.
Okay.
So if we're gonna start with the smallest thing we've got, Ritz, explain to us what a Ben Quad is.
It's kind of hard to explain whilst I'm lagging so fucking crazily here. I don't know how I'm sounding on your two side.
You sound great.
Yeah, you sound fine.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna have to be dealing with some robot stuff. I'll kind of just try and piece together what you said, but I did hear the words Ben Crod, so I'm assuming that we're talking about that first. Yes, Ben Crod, a very young band, I guess. That's up and coming in the fifth wave emo scene. I guess up and coming is a bit of an understatement. They definitely have been involved in some big tours and had some big events happen to them. They quite noticeably got one of their songs added into a Rock Band free anniversary pack the last year, Blood for the Blood God. As well, they've been successfully touring with Hot Mulligan and Spanish Love Songs and Heart Attack Man on a all-American tour as of recent. I think they've also had some stuff beforehand, but I wouldn't be able to properly tell you about all that stuff. They released just 2 songs this year. I think they probably released some more, but they released a little cassette here. And the songs have been kind of stuck in my head, so I picked it.
Fair enough.
Keep talking. I want to find my notes real quick.
Talk.
Ben Quadricep. Is it related to Ben Tano? Wonder.
That's shit. That'd be cool. Yeah. The main song I've been listening to of this is "Would You Tell Picasso to Sell His Guitars?" It's obviously a School of Rock reference. That's basically the most fifth wave emo thing you can do is just reference something you watched as a kid.
All right, I have my notes.
It's 4 minutes long. Dominic, you got your notes?
Let's dive into who is Ben Quid. And the answer to that is they are a band from Oklahoma, from Tulsa. And they had an album last year, their debut. I'm scared that's all there is.
Yep, that was the one with Blood of the Blood God on it, as I mentioned, was in the Rock Band DLC.
Yes. And they have 63,000 monthly listeners, so they're doing pretty well, all things considered.
Mm.
Yeah.
So they land on the side of relative success. There's the fifth wave emo that is strictly DIY. They have some listeners. Not that that's like a hard and fast rule, but then there's like the side that is like blowing up in a major way.
Yes.
So Hot Mulligan, Spanish love songs, they kind of all are fitting into that. Ben Quad is getting there. And then worth noting, of course, Heart Attack Man is indeed a Beastie Boys reference.
Hell yeah.
But
it's fun 2 songs. That's my review.
Yeah, it is 2 songs. They are fine. They are what they say they are.
It's not too hard to say. It's another day that I don't expect, but I'm still saying like I know them. Please stop me, Dominic.
I mean, I only have a ton. I just have like, they're a bit darker, but they're kind of a Collie Cosgrove kind of sound, which is nice. I do like that sound.
Yeah. I feel like that is probably the best contemporary to actually compare them to. Is probably Collie Cosgrove. They're definitely a bit heavier than Collie Cosgrove, but it's not really by that much.
It is more modern, well-produced emo. It's, for older fans that are trying to keep up, I feel like this is a good band you could point to because they have enough of the sound that people can be nostalgic, but they are new enough that new people can pick it up pretty easily.
Yeah.
So like where I thought Hot Mulligan's album was kind of stuck in the 2000s, this one is just kind of a nice bridge. Really,
yeah, I mean,
all there is to say.
I'm hoping we get a bit more full length kind of from them. This is kind of more just a very easy introduction into Ben Crode whilst they're still here before actually properly covering a full side. You know how sometimes I kind of go like, "Hey, here's a single. Listen to this band. Okay, we're covering them." Yeah. Well, it's that, but now we're covering the single.
Yeah, it's the Songs from the Spare Room by OK Cool moment.
Except it's better than Songs in the Spare Room.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
That's not hard to do.
Songs in the Spare Room had self-so, but the Time and a Half wasn't really an interesting song. Last year, I mean, I prefer one song, and it is still just mostly do a good riff and then kind of fill in the gaps emo on holding. Is it called Holding Patterns? Is that the
that's Holding Patterns.
Yeah,
it
is a little of that, but it's still a good track on there. I think the first track is still the fucking highlight by far on it, but
fair enough. That's my last note here for Holding Patterns. I think this applies to both of it. Pretty generally all right.
Hell yeah.
Acceptable.
Both are my favorites, neither are my least favorites.
You've passed the test, Ben Quad. You are now our friends.
Yes.
We are Ben Quadrinos now.
Yeah, I agree. Both are good tracks. It's not real least favorites. It's not like we said as a 10 out of 10 thing, but it is just 2 short tracks. So
yeah.
Admittedly, if this was like a longer piece, these would be 2 songs I'd probably be like, oh yeah, those are there. Those are fine. They don't really excite me in like a major single way.
Yeah. I don't even think this is supposed to be a lead-off single or anything like that, which, I mean, personally, I think would you tell Picasso to sell his guitars as lead single worthy personally, but I don't think it actually is one. I think this is just a standalone single that they're doing.
Totally fine. The album is dead and all that.
Yeah.
Just release some fucking singles and call it a day, I guess. Trix, do you have anything to differ from that, or is it both still just they're both good, no least favorites?
Yeah, I'll just full agree with that. They're both good, no least favorites.
Cool. We had the 10-minute mark here, and now we're gonna move along now to the Origami Angel Commander Salamander split. Holy split. And before we really get into it, I just need to point out the fact that this came out in January of 2019. And Somewhere City came out in November.
Yep.
Just think about how crazy of a jump that is.
It is.
You completely roboted on mine, so I did not hear what the hell you just said, but I agree.
Just think of how crazy a jump it is from Denny's DeVito to Find Your Throne.
Title track.
Title track.
Yeah.
Anyway, you were gonna say
Yeah, I was gonna say.
You can say your thing now.
I didn't. I
I
didn't have anything to say. I've been fucking lagging.
Oh shit.
yeah. My cat's just been meowing at me because he likes to scream.
I mean, I will say something about it. I just didn't have anything that you interrupted or anything. What I will say is that yeah, I mean, obviously I discovered Origami Angel in 2019, and when I say discovered, I don't mean as I was the first to found them. I just mean when I personally discovered them, and that would have been the Gen 3, so it would have been the EP after this. And I think there's enough difference in their sound between this wholly split EP and Gen 3 that you can tell a massive difference. I mean, looking back on it, you can also see a massive difference between Gen 3 and Somewhere City, and Somewhere City is just their best out of all their 2019 work by a mile. But I this is basically comparing it to the Ben Crone. It is for both of these acts, really. It's Origami Angel not as much, but it's do the riff and then fill out the gaps. It kind of feels like, I don't know, it feels like very bug standard. It's in a time where it's not quite the fifth wave having been as established, but it is still existing in this time. So it's weird. You still get a bunch of acts kind of still sounding like the fourth wave, which we get with Commander Salamander. It's all right, but I got no reason to ever go back to this.
Yeah, I agree.
I just think Origami Angel's tracks, they sound a bit unrefined. If that makes sense. Like there's something about them that it's like I listen to it, I'm like that would be done differently now. I feel like.
Yeah, it is very amateurish for the standards that we actually get from Origami Angel nowadays.
I don't know if it's just Ryland's vocals being the way they are because they definitely improved, or if there's something like the mix isn't full enough, or just parts don't flow the way they should. Like the no part on Origami Bagel just sounds weird.
Mm.
Or I feel like nowadays they would figure out a way to make that work.
I mean, it's a great album out there.
Yeah. I mean, Commander
Absolutely.
Salamander, you know. Rip to Commander Salamander, they folded not too long after this. I know they were like best friends.
Yeah, they seem to have put up their full discography as an album.
That's always pretty cool.
I believe one of the band members even passed away, actually.
Oh man,
that's not so cool.
Yeah, I don't think that has anything to do with like that wasn't like the direct reason things happened, but still I have
it's not a plain dog situation.
I mean, no, but it's not dissimilar.
Yeah.
Yes, Liam Crone. I believe was the drummer. Yeah.
R.I.P.
Yeah. There is a memorial scholarship fund, so we might link to that.
Mm-hmm.
And also worth noting that Ryland produced the Commander Salamander half. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Doing some of their early like self-producing work that we would see on like Gami Gang in a way, but like for somebody else. But no, yeah, this is a cute little thing.
Yep.
There is much more interesting stuff.
Historically interesting, musically,
I would love to know.
I don't want to say uninteresting.
I would love to know if there's another band that we know of that we quite like that has such a crazy range in a span of a year.
Yeah.
I don't really have a favorite or least favorite on this. I don't really call it a blender. I just don't think anything really stood out on it. I think it was just a very average split, unfortunately.
Yeah. If you asked me to name something I would remember from it all, I think I'll remember, whoa, Kenny! That's it.
Whoa, Kenny.
I'd probably just remember the track title, Denny's DeVita.
They do the track titles pretty well.
They always have.
All right. So, that's That's the split. It's even less time than Ben Quad, but that's all right. Let's move on over
Yes.
to. Technically this is a band, but really it's two bands. Chris has pulled a little bit of a trick on us. Let's move on over to Doris. Did you know that these bands were related?
Which ones?
Doris and Mouse.
Somewhat. They're on the same label.
They share band members, or at least one.
I don't know. They shared a band member.
And then
That was unintentional.
I believe the singer from Mouse also produced the Doris EP.
Well, there you go.
So
I'm just really good at doing this.
Interesting.
Alright, Doris, Newcastle-based emos. I'm now starting to cover more of the Australian underground emo scene, which is trying to drift away from the natural Aussie emo sound that we've had with pop punk and more into this underground, grimy, or more just really self DIY, whatever you want to call it. Emo. That's kind of closer to fifth wave than it is to the pop punk scene that we've had growing in here. And Doris is well, they're performing with Freezer next month, so I figured I would give their EP a listen. And what a better way to give something a listen than to put it onto this podcast. So that's why I chose Doris.
hell yeah.
That's fair.
This is one of those bands that seems to have erased their early work. This is now really the only thing they have on their like Spotify and whatnot, their Bandcamp.
Mm-hmm.
But they had some singles and like a live EP in like 2020. But that's all been washed away. But I think, what's here is still interesting. I'm mixed when they try to rewrite themselves like that, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like one thing, it's a weird thing when you're comparing EPs and talking like it, and for sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and here I'm a bit mixed of it. They don't really have their own, like, coherent sound at the moment. I'm not saying there's a sound of, like, oh, you can't tell it's Doris, but it's more so they're not quite sure if they want to be so heavy or soft yet on this, because, like, the difference between Teeth and Squarehead Deadbeat,
Yeah.
so two ends of the coin, and it kind of feels. If I say jack of all trades, master of none, not in this whole like they suck at everything they do type of way, because they're actually still doing everything quite competently here and great. But you get a couple moments here stand out on that, but the rest, it's like I kind of feel like I wish they were spending just a bit more time trying to get one of this working and experimenting more on that type than kind of trying to branch out and everything so early here. But still, what you do get here is still a great little EP.
Yeah.
I do like the mix of like acoustic little things and kind of your shoegazy, grungy bits as well. There's something that's really nice about that for me. I think we're kind of stumbling into a little scene of its own with Mouse as well, of just like this
Of Kitty Records.
Yeah, Kitty Records and this like grungy emo. I'll talk more about it with Mouse, but Doris has some of it too. But it's more like you said, split up and kind of like acoustic heavy. But I think the acoustic stuff works really nicely. Speak for Me is a really nice, cute little song.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also nice to see that they are at least like they're not just trying to do 3-minute radio friendly songs or anything like. Yeah, I mean, Dirt Pool was a near 8-minute track. It's not really a big standout despite of it, but at least them having to have this try and doing these longer, grungier moments, I guess, is great. But I think I agree. I think I kind of like their softer moments on this a bit more than their heavier.
I do too.
I do like how Dirt Pool is really slow and lumbering and shoegazy, and then the Squarehead the Deadbeat's kind of like a really nice contrast to that kind of right away. That starts really heavy and gets into like weird sax territory. And then Birthday Cards kind of like brings that forward and goes into like some Black Country New Road vibes. There is the last part of the EP I feel like has not its own identity necessarily, but it starts to develop into something. If they were doing like a full length, this would be like a sequence on it.
But I mean, this
It was
isn't
good.
that short of an EP either. This is 23 minutes, I believe.
Something like that.
Let's see if I can prove myself right or wrong. I've tried clicking on something that doesn't show me the time of that, so apologies. How long are you? It is 27 minutes. It's a bit longer. So it's nearly a full length, but I'm pretty sure this is still classified as an EP.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you could tell me this is an album, and I'd believe it. It is definitely long enough.
In some ways, I'm reminded of Dust.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Dust is also Novacrostian, so I mean, it's not like Doris haven't heard of them. I would assume, at least.
I wonder how related they are, but I mean, I don't know if I like this more or less than Dust. Maybe a little bit less, but it's still pretty comparable. I think Dust does some really interesting things with instrumentation, and so does this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get stuck comparing it when I think there is enough differences and whatnot. But I mean, if we do compare what I think is better, I think Dust currently clears, but Dust is probably one of my favorite EPs of this year so far. So it's like kind of unfair to compare that.
Yeah.
Plus, I feel like Dust was a weird one in which it's an EP as well, but that feels more like a mini album than this does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we do have the interlude, I guess, with Speak For Me, and then you can compare like the voicemail stuff that happens on etc. etc. But this is more, this more feels like a collection than, and the DIY kind of, or this shows a lot more DIY than Dust does.
Yes.
Plus, I don't think Dust is really DIY, but that's something else. Yeah, there definitely feels like there's a lot of influence going from grunge into this as well.
Uh-huh.
I mean, December went for too long is basically just pure 4 minutes of grunge. Doesn't mean it's the best grunge, but it is still grunge.
It's grunge that both this and Mouse have some elements of it that I feel are more interesting to me than kind of the grunge you've brought on before.
Yeah.
Like
Which I haven't brought that much on. I've really only brought on Scream Theater, I believe. Probably something else.
I'm more talking about like the grunge revival. It's kind of like where like Violent Soho comes from and all that.
I mean, in a sense, I get it. I've never really considered Violent Soho as grunge revival, as I more have just alternative, but it is, I guess, in a sense, yeah, grunge revival.
The only thing that interested me here is that they also have a demo EP out that was just, I guess, some sketches of songs they made more recently, and that actually seems to have done better so far than this one. Gotten a lot more attention on Bandcamp.
Interesting.
Yeah, this is fine. This is good. I like this.
Yeah.
I like it too. There's some stuff I'll go back to and listen to it, and I'll see how they are live next month. I'm excited to see them. I think, especially since we've also got Freezer opening, and I would have covered Pictures of Yuki, but they don't really have anything but the couple singles out. So, Pictures of Yuki, when you get an EP or a full album out, or if I completely missed it, apologies. Or
what was that one band you covered
I'll
the very
cover.
first episode of the year?
You lagged out completely there. I don't know what the fuck you just said.
What was that album or that band you covered the first episode we had this year that had just a few singles out?
Morgs.
Yeah, you can always do a Morgs.
Yeah, I mean, I might do that, but we'll see. Yeah, this is a nice EP, a nice. It's just more me saying, hey, here's a band from the underground scene, which they're not quite at the holy shit, you got to listen to this right now, but they are at the point in which give them a listen because they're still good right now and they're probably only going to get better. So recommend.
I like the second half of this album quite a bit, or this EP. So like Speak for Me through Birthday Card I think is really good. Not that the first part isn't good, it's just lesser. I think I'll say Dogs Can't Talk's my least favorite.
I'm actually gonna
Favorites.
completely agree with Domino.
Yeah. Favorites. I agree about the first half being the weaker part. I actually don't mind Teeth. I think Teeth's a really nice little soft opener, but Dogs Can't Talk in December went for too long. It's a bit on the moment. It's a bit too. Well, I don't want to say generic is the kind of word because I feel like it's harsh and I don't really mean it. But I feel like they feel a lot more generalized as songs compared to some of the stuff on the second half. Uh, Saying that Squarehead Deadbeat is kind of just a very like 80s emo hardcore song. So maybe I'm just talking shit. But Birthday Cards and Dirt Pool are at least a lot more interesting. I'd say Birthday Cards and Teeth, though, are probably my favorites on this. Least favorites, probably December went for too long.
Fair enough. But if we're talking about the moment where you're like, holy shit, you gotta listen to this, I do want to flip the page over to Mouse. Or I do say, holy shit,
Yes.
you gotta listen to this.
Took my shirt off in the yard. That lyric happened, and it took until the third time it said with Dominic. It's like, oh, so that's why Rich chose it.
And then I turned around and closed my eyes and reached for the place where it started.
Yes.
The absolute shit tier connection that I have to this album, which means absolutely shit all, but I've never been one to shy away from this, is my online friend who I've never met IRL, but is still an online friend, has a mate who apparently helped write some songs to this album.
That's pretty cool.
That's cool. I was reading apparently Caleb Anderson, the singer, is friends with Matt Bogus of the Chats.
Yeah, well, they're both Brisbane based. I mean, I think the Chats. I think someone from the Chats is Namble. I thought that's at least Eamon, so I don't know where Matt's from.
But no, you picking the microphones was really prophetic. I feel like in a way, I just did not know how much they really mattered to the indie DIY scene.
Oh no, I mean, put aside that I mostly just chose it anyway because, excuse me, because the Glow Part 2 was one of my favorite albums of all time. This is, yeah, it is basically an album where you can see just a lot of DIY or small indie artists. Oh, not even just an album, an artist. That they've all compared to. I mean, we've talked enough about Tiger's Jaw. Tiger's Jaw is based off artist name is based off a Microphone's lyric.
Mm-hmm.
And Tiny Little Houses and Drag Me also uses the line, I took my shirt off in the yard, my shoulders were no longer golden.
That's fair. Fair. But no, so what I was talking about before with Doris, especially now with this, I think this is a really interesting direction for emo and grunge. Because this, to me, the sound of this, it reminds me of Horse Jumper of Love. But in some ways,
Very much so.
It's darker and it's heavier in some ways, but also in other ways it's still different.
Yes.
Like there is a, I don't know what the word is. I might have written it down. There's a certain feeling about this album that's kind of, it kind of gives you that, not that creepy feeling, but that really depressed feeling. I feel like Horse Jumper of Love can give you, where there's something about it that's just kind of not right, but in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something about this that feels very, I don't know, creepy or unsettling in a way. But I'm fascinated.
This is going in the peak depression playlist along with Horse Jumper of Love for me.
And there's something weird about like when we get the songs like Horsey, or it's just like Horsey be free, and it's like, what the fuck is happening?
Mm-hmm.
Just wants to play horsey. Is that too wrong, Dominic?
When you start with I took my shirt off in the yard and you go to Horsey be free, I feel like a journey has happened and I wasn't even really there for it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very I mean, I feel like the sound isn't even so out there. There's like things that we haven't even heard before, but I feel like obviously if you're somebody who's never really experienced this type of sound like we have, I guess maybe it is. But and the more I think about it, the more that I don't really have like a direct contemporary to really compare them to at the moment. I do think they are basically putting out an album that is their own sound, which is very, very good to see in a band that's basically this underground.
Yes.
Yes.
And you can see the influences. You can see the microphones, obviously. I also think there's some Black Country New Road in this as well.
Mm.
There's a bit of some like it feels like a diary entry in some ways sometimes, where Isaac Woods wasn't necessarily doing that on the songs, but the way that we kind of like Isaac's version of speak talking and some of the instrumentation with like strings and stuff. I feel through this album.
One of the things I think is funny as well, as I'm looking at their top locations for listeners on Spotify. Now, number one comes as no surprise. It's Brisbane. Number two is less of a surprise, or more, I guess technically more of a surprise, but not by much. It's Sydney. Then number three is Los Angeles at 213 listeners. And then Dominic, apparently you've managed to add in 171 listeners or something, because Chicago's number 4 with 172.
And you look back around to Melbourne.
Yeah.
So hey.
That's I find that funny.
Yeah.
You think they'll travel all the way to Chicago for their 170 listeners?
They fucking better.
I will personally pay for the plane tickets.
I mean, there's a whole other album we can cover by them called Here Is Then.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We can have more Mouse and talk about them more and maybe hopefully get their attention and have them come over here for a tour. What a plan.
I'd also like to mention just how like beautifully illustrative a title Under the Light of the Air Conditioner is.
Yeah, I feel like that's a very trick style album title as well.
Yeah, and like it might just be me, but like I have vivid memories of being like a kid and like it's hot in the summer and like the only light in the room is coming from like the 3 LEDs on the air conditioner, and that's just what is that is just what I'm seeing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get you.
Yeah.
Their Bandcamp is very small, tiny little mouse.
It's very cute.
It's adorable.
Yes.
They also do a little bit of the country twang. If you look at Country Welcome Mat, almost like a country punk in a way. And I think
that even starts off with a very ambient type of sound, though.
And I do think they do a good job of like varying up like vocal styles. There's a couple different singers here. So
yeah,
I just think this is. I'm gonna have a lot to say about another album, but this episode that may sound like I value that way more than this one, but I think this is still the better album.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's a case of where you talk about some albums and the whole case is like, oh, look at how much it does, and realistically, this isn't like the most expansive album either. It does still kind of constrain itself in its sound, but it does quite a bit in that sound in the 40 or so minutes that it does.
And
as
we're not say getting something like Big Scary's Animal, in which that is basically a sonic journey through very different genres and tempos and soundscapes over like a 50-minute experience, which is purposely supposed to capture different emotions. That's what that album does. Whilst this is very much just a kind of grunge emo record for 40 minutes.
But you always have the luck of shotgun blasting my favorite stuff at the very end of the year. It always seems to happen.
Oh yeah, no. Usually I shotgun it throughout the whole year. It's just at the end of the year, that's when you're just like, oh, yeah, that's right, Callum is based.
And you've come through yet again.
Yep.
Indeed.
It's a great little record. I mean, The vocals on this are very. They're kind of diary-like, is how I'd like to explain it, because it's very like talk. They're doing mostly the talk voice in this, but
Yes.
it's not quite like a. It's not like a cake style or a cheek face talk. Nor is it really like Mount Erie Crow looked at me type of talk. It's kind of in between those, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, and like there's something that's really nice about it where it really works. Like in Buffy, when the talking comes back around to repeating the chorus line, it's a great moment. There's something about it that just really hits. Like the singer and the chorus are all like unifying for one moment, and it's just they fucking know what they're
So
doing.
we're comparing the sound to Horse Jumper in Love, but I want to compare the album art to Horse Jumper in Love.
Sure.
It is.
Yeah.
It very much. It's probably a better drawn human, but I feel like that's. Whilst Horse Jumper of Love is a diary entry about smashing the cactus, this album art looks like what's happened once you just smashed it.
Yeah, that's fair. Also, I'm going to admit, I never thought that it was a human on the cover of Horse Jumper of Love. I thought it was like an alien.
Is it a human on this one?
Yeah, that'd be that's an ear I see.
Hold on, I need to look at this closely.
Enhanced.
What do you think it was? Surely that's a person.
I'm not going to pull it up because it will nuke my my data stream.
We're both talking. Oh, that is a person. I thought that was a frog.
Fucking
Frogs
fucking
are
all this
people
time.
too.
All this time, it's like, man, this frog is putting out some good music. Fucking froggers.
When you look at it from far away, and you can't tell all the details. It just looks like a giant bullfrog that's got like its lips pursed a little bit. But up closely, yes, it is a human planting something.
Yeah,
a cactus.
Yeah, frogs don't plant things, Dominic. Dom emo.
You clearly have not played Stardew Valley.
I played 10 minutes of it.
In the 1.5 update, they added a frog that you have to grow crops for called the Gourmand.
That's great. I've got 1.4 updates to apparently look out for there before that one. And so I think the last one I played was 1.0 or some shit.
Yeah, I bought the game physically in like 2017, so
it's good out. It's a good album.
This is
a
fucking phenomenal album.
This is fantastic. This is great.
Yeah,
there is a scene forming here that is its own thing. I feel like Doris and Mouse and a few others can kind of like hammer it out. I think there is something forming here.
Honestly, I think the insane part about the Australian emo scene right now, in just going into the underground, is that we're basically managing to grab all different ranges in this, but the one that is definitely shining is still kind of based off the grunge punk scene that we had in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because you can compare it to the experimental emo that we got down in Melbourne happening there with Bigger Boot and We Will Look Back at You and Love You Forever, and then just up in Brisbane, I mean, obviously we've talked about Narky Soul before, which is probably a bit more cleaner produced, I would say, as well.
Maybe. I don't know. Narky Soul was not the cleanest in the world.
No. I meant compared to like Mouse and Doris, but still maybe, yeah, I guess. It sounds a lot more grungy though, but it is still got its emo tinge to it.
Yeah.
I'd say my one gripe about this Mouse album is that it does feel a little bit too long. I think if you took Mannequin out, it'd be a lot better. Not that Mannequin's a bad song, but for what we have, it drags just a little bit.
Sorry, Mannequin. Dominic doesn't like you anymore. Yeah, I mean, recommend. Give this a listen. This is a good
fantastic
band. They got basically no listeners at the moment, so
yeah.
Well, unless you're in Chicago, apparently.
I would love
You
to know
should
who's.
you should try and find the other mouse heads. Start a fan club in Chicago.
I go to a Dead Mouse concert.
Favorites, Yosame, The Light Stays On. I do like Country Welcome Back. Yeah, it's a pretty interesting one. Least favorite? Either the Adult Yelled Car or Mannequin.
I love Buffy. I love Yosemite. I like Adult Yelled Car. My least favorite's Mannequin.
I don't have a least favorite. This is just a solid album of good sad songs, and I dig that.
Now, there's another album of solid songs that are compressed and squeezed like a lemon to make juice that I think we could talk about a little bit. Let's flip on over to Elizabeth Whittington.
Elizabeth Whittington. More like Elizabeth Shittington or whatever. What was that actually? What did she call the EP? No, it was. I swear she put out something under Shittington.
Sun Shittington, something like that. I listened.
That's the one. That's the one. Yeah, Captors. I'm going to fucking kill you for these names. I cannot pronounce shit. Yes, Captain Zabiff, Sun Shittington, Captain Zabiff. I'm going to have a panic attack.
I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about, but
it's it's a split she put out.
Oh
yeah.
Captain Sunshine. It's Sun
Also,
Shittington is the fucking that's pronounced, but I can't do Captain and Elizabeth. I think it's Captain Zabiff.
I would also like to mention that when searching this, I found another Elizabeth Whittington with 2 T's.
Oh no. Yeah, what was that about?
I don't know. I just like this is. I just searched it. I'm like, oh, this isn't the right one, and I double checked my spelling.
I mean, I know
We're
that.
going to listen to compilation Do Not Listen later, by the way, Dominic.
Hell yeah. We can die, but we'll die having fun.
Hell yeah.
No, but Elizabeth Whittington is a name. The person that does this is named Sarah. She's one of the people that heads up Depth Pop Records.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And this is an album that I understand now what claustrophobia pop is. I understand where We Will Look Back at You and Love You Forever is coming from. And
yeah, I mean, the difference is that when we look at some claustrophobia pop, if We Will Look Back at You and Love You Forever, they go for the sample base and they focus purely on this. Whilst this feels a lot more in the post-rocky side of claustrophobia pop.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're at the point where this is different enough that this could be a fifth wave subgenre.
Claustrophobia pop? No, I would agree.
This is something very specific in the fifth wave scene that is like different, but still definitely in it.
No, I full agree.
I'm excited by this.
It's
yeah.
I mean, you can go and say like, oh yeah, well here's the comparisons I could do to like Asian Glow would probably be one of the big ones with their popularity in the post rock side of fifth wave emo. But it is definitely different to it. I wouldn't listen to Elizabeth Whittington and say, oh, I wouldn't go to somebody who just kind of likes Asian Glow and then says, oh, well, you'll love Elizabeth Whittington, because there's so much difference. With just probably, this is the type of music which I feel like we could probably kill King George with. So,
I mean, I think that'd be a badge of honor for some people.
And it's you can also see some of those comparisons that we had with other stuff in the claustrophobia pop. We'll obviously be comparing a lot to We Will Look Back at You. It's all death pop. Death pop is basically where claustrophobia pop is shining at the moment. So it's all going to be there. And there's a song that reminded me of, I forget what it's the exact title on the We Will Look Back at You and Love You Forever album, because they made the titles to be like that. but it's the one where they're doing the episode. It's a "You Cry" sample. I forgot what the fucking Midnight Gospel sample that goes on there. And here, I don't know what the sample is. It could just be her having an old recording or something, for all I know. But it's this person basically just talking about how they hate themselves for 4 minutes while we have the backing vocals.
My uselessness caught on tape.
My uselessness caught on tape?
Yeah, that's the one you're talking about,
Yeah.
the track.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is fantastic, deeply fantastic. And this is like if Hex D was about original songs and not just like frying old pop songs, if that makes sense.
Actually, I did the comparisons to Asian Girl, but the actual best comparison, and it's now starting to really hit me, like why this album's now, I guess it's the EP album, what do you want to say?
It's an album.
Is considered to be no, not this, the one that I'm going to compare. It is one of the most influential in fifth wave. Is you're starting to see the influence that Your Arms Are My Cocoon is having.
You've said this before, but it's definitely true that Your Arms Are My Cocoon is like set the tone for what DIY exploratory fifth wave has been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you just have to show that you can go in your car and record on GarageBand on your iPhone and make something out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure it could be this one, it could be the Salem's Corydalis one. Apologies if I come this confused. But I think this one had some of that kind of that same kind of garage band drums happening in it at times, didn't it?
Dan Macy's stuff had some of those drum loops in it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think that
I've listened to a lot of this, so
I think that breakbeat, that break chord,
yeah,
you know, that it's been in the fucking Sonic song, so yeah, that one. That's been around. But no, I was reminded of Team Meccano. I was reminded of like just other fifth wave stuff that we've done, and I think this is like this episode in general. The theme of our fifth wave coverage is like kind of bridging the links of everything together, where we have the fifth wave emo, the DIY, the Hex D, the everything.
Yeah.
Like, I think, you know, Dan Macy's going through some of this stuff. Salem's Corydalis has some of this going on, but in different ways. I feel like this is where we're digging another layer into this, and I am still fascinated and still curious to keep going because there is a wealth of things to learn. And
well, I'm pretty sure there's a new Elizabeth Whittington album coming out pretty soon as well.
Yeah, there was a live album drop, but I think there was something new coming as well.
Yeah, so as a part of Def Pop November.
Yes, I believe.
If I can even where are you, Def Pop Records? I'm trying to find where the things that there was something that was getting released tomorrow my time. It's not that. I'm just trying to find. It is very annoying to find Def Pop on Google because they spell it so fucking annoyingly.
Yes, there seems to be a
pop.
Yeah, there seems to be an album called "We're Still the Same If Not Minorly Fucked."
Yes, and which was coming out on the 25th, which will be out by the time this episode is out. It's Bird's Nest and Gutters, or Bird Nests and Gutters, is the one that's coming out tomorrow my time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is, looking at the track list of We're Still the Same, Not Minorly Fucked, the 5-minute tracks on here were quite a journey. There's a lot more happening on this next one. That'll be interesting to listen to.
Absolutely.
But I don't know. Again, this is very diary-like as well as Mouse, but in a different way. This is more immediate, in your face, kind of like, you know, Uselessness Caught on Tape it feels like listening to a snuff film in some ways.
It does.
Yeah, it's one of those few times that's probably just caught me once I was listening. I'm just going like, should I even be listening to this?
At some points, it felt like a hijacked recording of my own thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, not that I necessarily think like that, but I understand what that means.
Hmm.
Another thing I kind of was hearing, and I don't know if it was directly sampled, but one of the major sonic influences I was hearing throughout this was fucking Pre-Sister swallowing a donkey's eye.
No, I fully agree with that. I kind of had that thought if the Whaler is in the air playing over the sea as an emo album, this is pre sisters as an emo album.
Specifically,
Yeah,
only
I could see
Pre-Sisters,
that.
not even the rest of On Avery Island.
Not even the
No.
rest of On Ivory, specifically pre sisters.
Yeah. It's like taking Jeff Mangum's sound collages and making, like, songs out of them different from what they are.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, like, that kind of wraps back into, like, this is a real big conglomeration of, like, a lot of things we like and a lot of things we've kind of covered in different ways.
Mm.
Then there's like there's a lot of dynamics on this record too. Like you have that like the first track, the only thing looking back at me, kind of just really starts out with that Neutral Milk Hotel sound work, and then you get something like The Knife, which is more of a it feels like shopping music, just kind of like cute and fun and like some singing on there, and then it kind of just cycles back into some fuzz and
I swear it starts with Jingle Bell Rock as a sample. The Knife.
yeah, it's just like some shopping music basically.
Yeah.
It's from something, but it's like it feels like I'm playing Mega Man Legends and I'm in the Apple Market. That's what I always go to. But it's all about how muffled and how impact sonically all the recordings are here. Like you can make stuff clear, you can make this stuff, uh fucking bright as the sunshine, but that's not the point.
No.
Yeah.
This is meant to sound crushed and muffled, and maybe you can't really make out what's being said, but you're still understanding it or you're still feeling it in a way.
Hmm.
And there are just moments
Mhm.
like The Only Monster on the Island of Lesbos where the guitar is actually fucking great from what you can hear from it. And it's like
And
there's
it is very fucking distorted guitar on that, but yeah. I don't think it's one of my highlights sonically on it, to be honest, but yeah, you do have those moments, and it's a weird thing you find about claustrophobia pop, or as I will always refer to it as shitpost emo.
yeah,
Uh,
sure.
is that you have all these moments of just compressed, and when we're saying claustrophobia, it's like yeah, there was so much happening at once. Then when you get those moments of just clearness, or like you can spot them out, they really do fucking hit.
Yes.
Yeah.
And kind of like with Mouse 2, there's also that undertone of creepiness kind of just seeping its way in, and as the album goes, there's definitely like that the Priestess stuff really helps, and there's just it feels like the the horror side of TikTok sometimes, where you're like looking at those
Mm.
urban exploration videos or the back rooms or some dreamscapes or whatever.
Liminal spaces.
Liminal spaces,
That
that's the
sort of
word.
thing.
Yeah, yes. The back rooms.
And so I really start liking the tones of all of that stuff, and I just think there's so much happening, and I'm kind of impressed that it took us this long to get to this act, because this is really something.
Yeah.
Imagine
Like
if one day I just didn't decide to like cover Paranol and didn't have his wear. You think we would ever actually have gone down this rabbit hole as fast as we fucking did?
Don't think we would have.
I like there was absolutely no fucking way we discover this without going down this rabbit hole. And I don't know if there's a way out of this. I think we're at the point where we're going to like, oh, there's a genre called claustrophobia pop, and we all love it. I don't know if there's a way out of this.
we're saying, there's a genre called claustrophobia pop. It's actually a subgenre to fifth wave emo.
Yeah.
Like
Basically, at this point of my music knowledge of fifth wave emo, seeming as it's my only knowledge, I hope to fuck that my partner never leaves me, because how the fuck am I impressing women after this?
I will say this, Ritz. You picking Paranol is directly responsible for me going to Chicago.
Yep.
Really? How so?
Yeah, because if he didn't pick Paranol, we would have never done Home as
Oh
Well.
yeah, that's right. That's right. We never would have seen
And
Glass
with
Beach.
yeah,
Fucking wild. Over here
Good album.
with as much like brain trust and purchase and authority to speak on things as Brandon McDonald.
yes,
And yet, I'll tell you what, I don't think Brandon McDonald has spoken too much on the claustrophobia pop side of this. She's got some explaining to do.
yes.
I mean, she's out making albums and touring. I'm not gonna hold it against her too much.
No, I specifically want her to come on here and explain. Please, I beg.
Explain to the 6 nerds.
Yeah.
I mean, the invitation is out there if you ever want to come on. I know we've tried to make it happen, but
Yeah,
To be fair, I think we did ask that while she was touring.
yeah. It was
should
during an
prob-
AMA.
You should probably check again, Dominic.
I'll check again. I'll try to email. But yeah.
You'd be surprised how easy it is to get stuff lost in the email. At work, they bombard us with alerts that things are like having a CPU going a little too high every once in a while, and there will like be just 500 emails. I'm not bothering to scroll all that down. If someone's messaged me like, "Oh, you're getting fired," I will not see it.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Trix, as the resident music nerd expert, is there a music theory happening here?
I did not listen closely to tell you, but almost certainly there is. There's music theory in even the most atonal pieces.
All I wanted to hear. See, academics,
Fair enough.
everything is worth studying.
Yes, even though music theory is a lot of colonialist bullshit, it's worth listening to, or worth learning a little bit about.
But yes, this is one of my favorite albums of the week. Truly a lot of standout moments. I would really love to know if Pre-Sisters was directly sampled. I think that would make my day if it was.
That might just be a Twitter DM away.
I bet you she will respond in the comments.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, please tell us.
Please.
Sarah,
And if you don't
please.
want to tell us in the comments, just message Dominic and you can come on here and say that shit.
Hell yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't really have a least favorite. I just think this is all generally pretty good, and I like what's happening here. And when I first heard it, I was taken aback and did not expect it. But as I listened to it more, I really got into it. This is unique and a new subgenre, and I'm very happy we're calling our shots now.
Yeah.
We are the premier claustrophobia pop podcast.
We can just keep making claims like that. Nobody's going to fact check us.
Yeah, absolutely. We are the premier fucking. Now that we have a fucking easy joke to make, I can't think of a single fucking claim to make here. We are the premier WWE fan club podcast.
See, that one you can debunk because WWE produces their own podcasts.
Yeah.
That's why I said the fan club.
That's fair. And I'll bet you there are Fifth Wave Emo podcasts out there. But other claustrophobia podcasts out there, that's much more unlikely.
Yeah.
Favorites? I do like the knife. Despite the uncomfortableness of it, it's not even despite, it's because of it, actually. My uselessness caught on tape is one of my favorites on here. It's one of those ones where I'm just kind of actually stand back and like, what are they talking about? And you're just listening to it, it's like, okay, that's one of my favorites. Least favorite, probably something like My Future or Sown. It ends a little bit draggingly, admittedly, but yeah.
I feel weird calling Uselessness on Tape my favorite, but I would agree that's probably the biggest highlight.
Yeah.
Trix, what else? Anything specific on
Uh,
that?
opening track, which Rich just said, but it's blank. I'm blanking on it.
No, it wasn't. I didn't say the opening track. I said the knife. The opening track is the only thing I
Oh,
can back up.
the opening track, and then the knife too, which is also good. And Uselessness caught on tape, and I really don't have his favorite.
Shout out to My Face also being a cappella.
Yeah.
That was a really interesting way to end it. That was carrying on the unsettlingness and the creepiness, but in a good way.
Hell yeah.
Now, I'm going to move on here, and I specifically want to move on to Dan Macy. Because my plot here is that if we sandwich Dan Macy in between Elizabeth Whittington and Salem's Corydalis, they're going to have to listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
And we can get Dan signed to a label or something. I think that needs to happen.
Yeah.
That's gonna be
That's
mean if
honorable.
Dan Macy doesn't get one. Like it's just failed now. Now we're gonna not only will Dan Macy not be on a record, but now you'll be directly responsible for people's rejections. How do you feel, Dominic?
I guess I should wonder if I need to cut this.
It's not gonna happen like that. Actually, I'm just fucking with you.
Anyway, yes, Dan Macy, formerly known as Catching Techniques. I also did some. I did some extra credit, and I took notes for Illya plus sports.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
You want to do your intro, and then I'll do my tech.
Yeah, this is an act that we found during our drafting of Fifth Wave Emo this summer, and then I found that there was more previously by him, and then an album that came out that I wanted to cover it all because I really like something about sports. I thought that was a fun little EP. So here we are.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'll do my take on this. So, when it comes to everything that we cover on here, we talk about where people fail and all that. Most of them just fail in which they haven't quite gotten a sound or they haven't quite understood what type of artist they are and stuff like that. But they usually be pretty well produced or anything like that, and blah 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 blah. Dan Macy is the complete fucking opposite. I think he realizes that his key or what he wants to do is just make really funny pop. Like you make what is still in a sense generic Midwest emo and generic trap rap or cloud rap, basically SoundCloud rap, I guess he calls it. On there, but do it in a sense in which lyrically there's a lot of parodies, a lot of samples to be kind of jokes and stuff like that, and make the type of music. And for the most sense, he does it well. And even though I don't think there's really any song in here in which I would go too much outside of what was covered on sports already, which I think I Ripped My Mum Jeans is still his best song that gets stuck in my head. There was a certain vibe in which I certainly I go with the flow on it. I think there's just quite a lot of fun to have with him. His biggest problem is still that it is very DIY and it's very obvious this is someone that is basically just making music and they're learning to do all the production and stuff like that on the fly, it feels, because there is still some roughness in mixing, there is still some absolute roughness in the timings and the production. But you put that aside, there is still quite a bit of a fun vibe to be having with this.
I think just opening up your first EP with a whole "Am I not suckable? Am I not fuckable?" It's just really great.
Yeah.
And again, this is where we get into like the intersection between fifth wave emo, Midwest emo, hyperpop, emo rap, kind of just a bunch of everything. There's some I would also there's a lot of breakcore in there, and kind of like IDM in a way. So we're really exploring like what do people just like making when they're just kind of fucking around and having fun, right? They just this they obviously Dan really likes doing the emo stuff and the acoustic stuff, but it's about having fun. It's about making just other stuff. You can make a fucking hyperpop song if you want to. There's nothing stopping you.
Yeah, no, and that's part of why I vibe with this. It's like it's not just when we're talking about it, we're doing a lot more seriously. I treat it as more seriously. And that's what bands like Doris and Mouse are. They are trying to do a little bit more serious, being in that band and stuff like that. So that's how it's been judged. And here, it is very much just someone who is just trying to have fun and going like, "Hey, I can do this." And do they do it? Kinda. There's definitely a lot of roughness around the edges that will stand out. You're not going to go and convince anybody that any of these songs are the best of the genre or anything like that. They are mostly at their best just competent songs in there. But you can tell as it's being made, it's someone who does have a genuine love for the songs that he's making. He's not trying to rip on any genre and say, look how shit this genre is, I make a really terrible song and that's my point for it. But no, it's someone who's genuinely trying to make a song that is a part of what he loves. And has a lot of fun with it, and you can't really ever criticize it too much. It's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I think some of the best sampling in the game. I think they're just amazing samples. Whether or not they're clear is a different story, but what's being used, deeply fantastic. Like, especially like, it's something that's reflective of like the vibe that he's going for, the vibe of the artist. Even something like using fucking Sonic fan dubs for a track. Deeply fucking fantastic. And that's the one thing I dislike about Illya plus Sports is that is the one track that got fucking changed, was the verses are bad. Fucking took out the Sonic fan dub moments.
Can't take out the Sonic fan dub moments.
I love hearing
that's
that.
probably a streaming thing though. It's probably just a bit too. I mean, I guess we still have the freaking fricks.
Yeah. I love hearing that's what makes you a beta cuck.
Yeah.
But like even the new album I think is really interesting and kind of exploring more of the dynamics of what he likes covering, whether it's the first half is really breakcore, hyperpop, emo rap, and then the second part is more of the acoustic stuff. And I think kind of like we talked about with Sports, the acoustic stuff is really, really good. I think that's like where he shines the most.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's also really nice to hear on this as well is that even though it is a rough, I talk about a rough around the edges and stuff like that, his vocals are still very like good.
Like
yeah,
they're not the best vocals you'll ever hear or anything like that. That's like too fucking crazy. But I don't think you could ever go into this and say like, oh god, I can't stand this dude's vocals, because no, they're good vocals.
Well, we thought about that with Weekend Run Club, and then I showed my mom, and she's like, I hate the dude's voice.
Yeah, well, that's because your mom's an uncultured swine.
Yeah, she is.
I mean, like, there's that moment in Hello Kitty, if she did meth, I knew Walter White personally, that has the like, I'll start drinking and driving just to feel, and then he like just fucking changes his mind. And that's the end of the fucking song, and that chorus actually is really fucking good. It's literally just, so I'll start to drink and drive just to feel.
Mm.
And he makes that such a good moment, and then it's like, actually, no, that's a bad idea. Let's not do that, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And like, fucking, the last track on the album, With the Price of Milk, I would leave too, actually got me to feel something. I was very surprised. It is the ukulele track of the bunch. It is the like, my dad left the family song, and it actually is really devastating for what it is.
Yeah.
It's rudimentary in some ways and addresses things not super specifically, but it's honestly one of the best songs there. And it's just like this ukulele track at the very end.
I know it's definitely a change of pace that happens on it.
Yeah, and then we talk about dynamics, right? You love albums that can do that kind of stuff. I'm curious where your line is.
Yeah.
Like, when does it feel good and when doesn't it feel good, right? Like,
it's a case of with the good old contrast as well. It's when big moments usually aren't just like constantly every day. It allows larger moments to really actually shine instead of just being a standard moment in the album. And sonically contrast I will like as well if it's done in a style. And this was a case of like I didn't really treat the two different halves as a contrast in the album, more as I did just consider this as two different parts of an album. That seems to be how he's released this as well. So
Yeah, it's a duality.
no, yeah. So I was never really thinking too much about the contrast of this, to be honest, because I just saw it as two different parts instead of comparing like these two different things. It's just how it kind of is. It'd be like how it would do.
Yeah. And I think the fun thing too is that I think this is a good album that demonstrates, I should say, how if you are failing at the genre you're doing, it could just be the production. Like, I'm not going to go out there and say that Dan Macy's the best emo rapper around, but I don't think these songs are embarrassing at all. I think these songs work for what they are.
Yeah.
Like, it's DIY, it's emo rap, it's cloud rap, right? But we've listened to other people attempt this year in the fifth wave scene. And the production was of lesser quality, and I think we universally disliked it. And I think this is just like, yeah, Dan knows what to do in these situations and knows kind of like the sound and the idea that he's going for.
Yeah.
It's a fun little record and EP to listen to. I mean, and I don't think it would come close to my recommendation of the week, unfortunately, but I still encourage people to give this a listen because it's a very underrated artist. I can't tell you without hearing what he's like with some better production how far this can go, and I don't think he's ever going to try and pull a sound that is anything other than what this is, which is fine. It's someone just doing this for fun anyway. But I'll still say, if you have the time, just give a couple songs to listen, see how you vibe with it. And if you don't, oh well. If you do, you'll have some fun.
I still think to start with the sports EP.
Something about sports is it's probably the best still at the moment.
Yeah, it's the best thing that he's done in concentration, though I do think, if you give the other stuff a shot, you'll find stuff to like in Illya and Duality of Doomsday.
Yeah.
And this is a person that's learning how to like mix and produce and do all that stuff. In a couple of years' time, I'm sure it'll be fucking off to the races. And I really mean it when I say I actually want to try to give him some attention because I think it's deserved. Like
I agree as well.
I agree as well.
This is an artist that deserves more than 6 monthly listeners.
I am one of those listeners. If Dan Macy has 1,000 fans, I am one of them. If Dan Macy has one fan, I am that fan. If Dan Macy has 0 fans, I am dead. If the world is against Dan Macy, I am against the world.
I was literally the first listener to a couple tracks on Duality of Doomsday on YouTube.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
I am the only listener in Sydney, according to Spotify.
Oh, whoa. 7 monthly listeners. It's gone up.
Yep.
There's one.
You are the only listener in Chicago.
So there's one listener in Mexico in the town of Azcapotzalco. I don't know. There's one in, what is MW?
MW?
I'm not too sure.
In Lilongwe, whatever MW is. And there's one in Sydney, one in West Columbia, and one in Chicago.
Hold on. 3 followers for Dan Macy. 7 followers for Ritalin for Kids. Let's go.
So if we collect like all a dozen fans in a room, probably.
It'd be,
it would still be more people than who saw Ursula when I saw her.
This is the biggest collection of Dan Macy fans ever put to a recording.
And it's worth mentioning, all this just came onto Spotify recently.
Yeah.
Yep.
So like we're right there at ground zero watching it happen.
That is
Indeed.
the greatest metaphor you could ever use there, Dominic. I would encourage you to use it more. Not see anything wrong going
Oh,
with that
Jesus Christ.
Your cat.
Yeah.
Favorites outside of the sports EP. Let's just get the track listing back up as well here. Literally just okay. Breakcore lol was actually alright. Same with I'm having a breakcore. Those ones are the highlights of I am a 100 gex ripoff. I think is what it's actually called, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Of Duality of Doomsday, I did like competitive virginity. I think that was a funny start. And with the price of milk, I would leave too. I don't think there's really anything I would call a least favorite because it's not really anything on here that you can just go like, this is a pile of crap because you're even just listening for the vibe. I mean, not necessarily
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
all. So
I think Starlight's a fun track. I'm gonna go into like the hyperpop section of it. I think, literally just okay. Breakcore Wall is also really fun. I also like Competitive Virginity as well off the album. Post Emo Alone I thought was really interesting. I think that was some solid cloud rap. And with, of course, with the price of milk, I would leave too is a fantastic closer. I also like Hello
Mhm.
Kitty. If she did math, I need Walter White personally. My least favorite off of Illya, I don't know. I don't really know if I have one. It's all just, like you said, you're there for the vibes. And the same thing with the album. Oh, I also do want to shout out though. Uh, how do I pronounce this? She Gek on my glaive until I XCX.
until yep.
Yes, you got my glaive till I XCX. I was going to point that one out too. That is one of my favorites, as is. I am drawing a blank on track titles. Competitive Virginity is great. Yeah, it's a fun album and EP. Good vibes.
I love the idea of just going to a restaurant and being like, 1 plate of chicken wings, please.
Yeah, and I work at a chicken wing restaurant, so I was thinking about that too.
Has anyone directly approached you like that, even though you're the cook?
No, I have run register a couple times because like I've been like the only one in the building, and it's like okay, I gotta run some register. But no, we had not had somebody order a plate of chicken wings, and if they did order a plate of chicken wings, they would get a box of chicken wings because we do not have plates.
I also just want to mention Naruto versus Goku AMV.MP4 being a rumination on homelessness is very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But I digress. We shall move
On the
on.
topic of Naruto, I think about Naruto themed blowjob every day.
Let's move on to Salem's Corydalis, the lion who shot back.
The Lion Who Shot Back is actually also a reference to an artist we covered earlier this year, believe it or not.
Oh, who?
Shel Silverstein.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's a fucking where the sidewalk ends,
I forget. I think so.
or Light in the Attic. Either one.
Yeah, one of them.
Truly, deeply great. Shel Silverstein now being referenced in an album that we can talk about, as if we've not listened to enough Shel Silverstein.
Yeah. I just like Shel Silverstein. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I really have come to like him after covering him. But yes, the lion who shot back from Salem's Corydalis, one of the other founders of Death Pop.
Mm-hmm.
I picked this because it got recently released, and I figured we'll go into Def Pop, and then you had a decision to also go into it, so it kind of just worked. I don't really have an intro to this. I didn't really know much Salem's Corydalis. I did personally reply to their post on the boot cord with me going, I endorse this album, artist on my hat, and it's Strong Bad from Homestar Runner. reference. Yeah, that's my intro.
So,
Fair enough.
according to an interview, first of all, according to in general, you're not meant to ask about what the name depth pop comes from, right? It's like one of their things. But in an interview, they did talk about it, and it's the idea of what is death pop. Well, death pop needs to have a lot of depth and make you go deaf. Hence, depth.
And it's also
pop.
about death.
So you combine death and depth and deaf, you get depth with.
Yes.
I'm already sick of it. This is too much. I didn't want to know.
Which is probably why it's better not
But-
to know. But now you know.
I tell you what, we go into this album, and this has a bit more collaborations on here, and we have some funny collaborations, especially just going with the title of some of these bands. In summer of 2019, I dreamed of everything I have now and couldn't be more disappointed. Their top songs are Us as Cat People, Owie Bugs Are in My Skin, Ooh Ow Ouch, Kitty Face. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I need to describe this any further. I think we know exactly what type of sound we're going on here.
I mean, going back to the
Tell you what, though.
Cocoon inspiration, though.
Benadryl pop.
We're straight up we're straight up going to the depths of the internet here.
We are taking 15 Benadryls and we're going to go see the Hat Man.
Tell you what, they're making good music though.
Yes.
I think I prefer Elizabeth Whittington, sorry Salem's, but like this is still for what is a pretty short record in. I mean, what it's actually shorter than the Doris album, Doris EP, and this is an album.
Yeah.
It was something I kind of vibe with. I think it came with a sense of it's definitely been outshined by the other stuff that's been released recently in the same label when it just comes to personal listening. But trying to just do it on its own, I do think it's quite an interesting little collaborative album comparing these, since a couple of them don't really have those collaborations on them yet.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
I think it's good that the head of a label is trying to work with other artists that have maybe less exposure or less experience.
Yeah, I was gonna say less exposure means shit all.
That's why, yes. And like, you know, the fun thing is that both Elizabeth and Salem have appeared on each other's records this episode, so that's kind of a fun little crossover. But yeah,
Yes.
on this one, there's Feels Real, there's Suburban Apathy, there's others. Poorly Wrote
Suicide Note. It's just I shouldn't like that name as much as I do, but it's actually kind of a good name.
Mm-hmm.
I always just imagine all these names if they're just being announced at like a show. Like, hey,
The reason you never see the skeleton of an elephant just laying around is one of their top songs.
just imagine me like, hey, we're poorly wrote Suicide Note.
No, what? Hold on. There is a fucking theme going on here. Top song for Poorly Wrote Suicide Note. A brief tune for my cat Pumpkin. Feels Real. They had a song covered in screening mouthful of puppy and shower called Kittens for Breakfast. We go to Suburban Apathy. I bet you no, okay. But one of their fans also like is a band called Things Left, and their profile picture is just Garfield. So long, partner.
Yes.
I swear I will find a fucking cat in here somewhere. This is just cats. I found it. This is what this all is. This is all just cats.
We found the cat people, yes.
A hot take. I kind of like Chris Pratt's Garfield.
I just didn't even bother.
Neither did I.
Yeah,
I have
Mhm.
become a Garfield fan somehow. I can't explain it either, but
Garfield's fine if you just really don't want to have any smart or really anything humor. If you just want a bunch of nothing but want to feel comfortable in nothing, it's fine.
that's the main comic. But when you get into the weirder shit,
Oh yeah.
the off stuff, it's weirder. Like, don't even get me started about Heathcliff. Heathcliff is like if every strip of Heathcliff is like if the Far Side's cow tools had lore.
Okay.
Anyways, that's cat cartoons with tricks.
I enjoy Garfield through the lens of Jeff Gertzman.
Have you guys watched
The lion has shoved
the?
back. We've got to get away from Garfield. We'll get stuck.
Yeah, never. Yeah, I was gonna go off on a Garfield tangent, so stop me.
More like the
Yeah,
Garfield
I'm
who shot back.
Yeah.
No, but this is a really chill album. Like that's kind of the thing I take away from this is that this is exploring like more jazzy, piano based, chiptune chill stuff. Like my
Yeah.
nightmares were animated in Eastern Europe.
It's definitely a lot cleaner than the other two Def Pop Records acts that we've mostly covered now.
Yes, cleaner, but
Mhm.
it's not claustrophobia pop. But it's still adjacent.
Indeed.
Mm.
And I think there's other stuff like there like something like "Think She's a Dampier." Like that reminded me of like a Sufjan Stevens song in a way. But like if Sufjan Stevens was like trying to do more modern underground production and not what Sufjan Stevens usually does.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you imagine Sufjan Stevens doing fifth wave emo and scrams, it'd be something like "She Thinks She's a Dampier."
I mean,
I can
there's a
see
very
that.
like chip tune. It's almost like a distorted chip tune moment that kind of happens halfway through that song as well,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
which I guess I can kind of try and just to think the Stefan Stevens vibe in that, but I feel like it's more. It's not even quite an automatic Gucci. I think it's just their own thing. I don't really feel like I see the Stefan Stevens in it, but I kind of get what you're on about. Actually, speaking of animated Gucci, are they doing the Scott Pilgrim animated soundtrack, or is it someone else? That's this I need to know.
This is important information.
This is incredibly important. Who does the soundtrack? Yeah, animated Gucci. Yep, we're good.
As it should be.
Yep.
Yes.
Sorry, that was just very important to me. Yeah, no, I'm not really quite getting the Stefan Stevens on it, but I think there is a bit more of that kind of experimental indie happening in it than there is the claustrophobia pop, but I'd still call this claustrophobia pop, even if it is a bit more adjacent to the other two stuff that we've heard.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, they still have other elements that I, kind of associate with like the creepy backrooms esque music or like the
Yeah.
depressing
Liminal.
chiptune, the liminal stuff, depressing chiptune. There's a vibe
I mean,
there that's really cool.
I never covered Afterlife of Dating this year, which I believe is also on Death Pop as well, but I did make a whole music league listen to On Metaphobia, a 12-minute or 12 and a half nearly minute claustrophobia pop track, and
Hell yeah.
I'll get the reviews out for that. Just for people who are like, oh, what is claustrophobia pop? How accessible is it? Yeah, it's well, I'll get the reviews up. Dominic, I stole some time while I do this because I gotta find which
In
one's
a
on.
way, I feel like we've cask of Amontillado ourselves in a way where we've let ourselves down the stairs and into the back walls where we're just kind of gobbling up this music bit by bit, and now we just can't get out.
Yes, we've been bricked up in the walls, which has a different meaning in 2023 than when Edgar Allan Poe wrote Cask of Amontillado.
Yeah, like if we had never done Paranormal Home as Where, we would still be free and out there listening to. We probably would have covered more Mount Erie by now. We probably would have gone
Yeah.
back to Troy Sivan or something.
And now we're just fully erect and within your walls.
Well, that's for a different reason. It's alright. I plan to get us temporarily out of it next week for a little bit of it.
It's only a matter of time before we become a fifth wave act ourselves.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there is.
We're just in Waves, and here's our new
album.
song: me shitting in a toilet whilst Trix commentates.
Surely, I would be the one shitting in the toilet.
No, you're waiting for me to finish.
Fair enough. It's just me knocking at the door repeatedly.
Yeah.
The song title is "Shitting, Parking, Knocking."
Shitting, parking, knocking. I'm impressed. I found that was the same amount of syllables in that amount of time.
Yeah.
That's the most impressed I've been with myself. This is not fucking loading. Fucking get me the fucking. We'll get it when it comes. We might even be on Beastie Boys by the time it comes. I mean, yeah, it is unfortunately in a week where we've covered something else from the exact same thing, and it's kind of a bit outshined by it. But it is still. It's probably the more accessible out of claustrophobia pop. I feel like if you really desperately want to get into this genre out of just nowhere, I feel like if you could get into this genre, you'd be at a point where you could probably listen to "We Will Look Back at You and Love You Forever," and you'll be fine. But if you genuinely like want to just go real full experimental out of nowhere, then this is probably the best place to start. The more I think about it, claustrophobia pop might be actually emo that's based off the ending to The Caretaker.
Yeah.
It's for everyone that watched Caretaker, or that listened to Caretaker and watched Evangelion and had feelings about it.
And read, not Autumn Leaves.
House of Leaves?
House of Leaves. House of Leaves. Autumn Leaves is a jazz standard.
Fuck yeah. Love fucking House of Leaves.
Favorites. I do like No Head, No Legs. I do like I Think She's a Dampier. Least favorites, probably something like Oh the Running Leaves or To the Ground.
I quite like My Nightmares Were Animated in Eastern Europe. I like Salem's Catharsis Part 3. And I also really like Really Rosie. My least favorite's probably Black Mold Anthem.
I don't have a track listing in front of me, so I'm just going to use my favorite word, blunder, because I do not remember track titles, but I enjoyed this album. Good blunder.
Good blunder. What a good blunder.
Good blunder.
Yes.
Blunder want to go for walkies? Okay. All right. Let's stop being fifth wave emo fans for a moment.
No.
All right.
We're gonna talk about the white rappers, the three, the originals, the beastiest of boys.
The three Jews from Brooklyn who can solve racism, I say, isn't in a joking manner.
But they sure as hell can't solve sexism.
Or homophobia.
No. 90s are a different time.
Take a look at this episode's title to get a hint of what we mean.
Yes.
Oh boy, I can't wait to get demonetized. We're making money.
And it's not there's not going to be anything too bad in the title. Dominic has already vetted it in chat.
Yes, I knew right away what I wanted this to be, and by golly, I'm going to get it. Because, gosh,
Yeah.
you know, now that I've heard two Beastie Boys albums in full a few times, I'm sure you can go into why you wanted to cover them and everything. But gosh, I just really don't fucking care about these people. I just don't.
Well, I'd like to get into one of the big main reasons why I covered them, and they are culturally significant because with their 1994 song Mullet Head, they invented the term mullet to refer to the haircut, specifically Mike D.
It is worth mentioning, too, that they also had in a magazine, Grand Royal at the time, that had an article on mullets in 1995. That,
Yes.
What better way to establish your own jargon by A, putting it in a song, and B, backing it up with an article?
Yes. And I think it's crazy that the term mullet didn't exist until 1994 when it was like the haircut of the 80s.
You want to know something even funnier?
Sure.
When and how do you think the high five was invented?
The high fod?
High five.
High five. Oh, it's got to be like the 70s, doesn't it?
Like, just the act of high-fiving someone.
Yes.
Honestly, that feels like Yeah, I'm looking at the Wikipedia as well, and I'm not going to say the answer until Trix has done a guess. But I would say I would have thought it would have been a thing not too far after the handshake.
Handshake, I feel like would way predate the high five. I feel like
I would too, but I feel like the high five would be, like an era after that. And the handshake is a very, very old tradition.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that it's like 70s or 80s.
Good guess.
You're pretty correct. Apparently, it predates either baseball or basketball, depending on what you believe. Or at
Wow.
least there's documented cases of sports players in those scenes doing it in 77 and 78. That's been a part of the English dictionary since 1980. And
Impressive.
apparently, Magic Johnson has once suggested that he invented it in the late 70s. Some people think it originates from women's volleyball in the 60s. But there's different stories of who it might have come from and why, and yeah, it's a fucking thing that you would have seen in the 80s. And
Yeah.
the high five is so ubiquitous that it feels like it could have been something from like the fucking 1500s.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Anyway, the mullet is a great haircut. There will never be any criticism towards a mullet in this chat.
I am currently rocking a mullet, so there better not be any slander.
My point though is that things that are so important in culture and so just expected, they can cover any fucking time, any fucking place. Beastie Boys inventing mullets, or fucking sports players inventing the high five. It's all just stuff that eventually takes on a life of its own. You capture the zeitgeist, you get lightning in a bottle for a moment, you release it upon the world.
Yeah.
Anyway, please continue.
I was going to say, the first, when I went to see Violent Soho and the Gooch Palms for the opening act, my favorite moment will always be the singer from the Gooch Palms singing one kid in the crowd with a mullet, pointing him out, singling him out, and just saying, "You all better love this kid. I am protecting this kid." We mullet wearers have to protect each other.
Isn't like the mullet the official haircut of Australia at this point?
Oh, yeah, basically, yeah.
So yes, the Mullet Heads track, which was in Clueless. This is the second song this year that was on the Clueless soundtrack.
Yes.
First one being "Fake Plastic Trees" by Radiohead.
Mm.
But through these Beastie Boys albums, we got "License to Ill," we got "Ill Communication," the first and the fourth albums, and there are songs. There are songs to talk about. You got the big ones: "No Sleep Till Brooklyn," Paul Revere, "Fight for Your Right." Ill Communication has fucking Sabotage, for God's sakes.
Yeah, Sabotage kicks all kinds of ass. I would like to mention that this is my second hip hop pick. My first one being the Judgment Night soundtrack. Yep. And it is also my second hip hop pick that features Kerry King on guitar from Slayer.
Yeah, we have technically covered Slayer in some capacity, along with Metallica and Megadeth.
Yes. And I think Anthrax also might have had something to do with the Judgment Night, but I can't remember.
There's a great way to look.
Yeah.
Wikipedia.
Consult the Oracle.
I'll say my takes on these Beastie Boy albums. Since
Go for it.
Dominic was very negative, I'm going to be actually very neutral. Ill Communication, I listened to the first time in full on this podcast. This is the first time I've actually listened to the album in full, having been a big fan of Sabotage growing up, and still am. Sabotage will always be a goated song. I was genuinely very surprised with how minimalistic this album is, to the point in which Sabotage actually sticks out on the album as not fitting at all.
Yeah,
to quickly jump in, Anthrax was not on the Judgment Night soundtrack.
Gotcha.
But Biohazard was.
All right.
But to continue on, that sound that they go for is done a lot better and a lot more coherently on License to Ill than it is on Ill Communication.
Ooh.
Yes.
I don't know.
I totally agree, actually.
See, as someone who's like, yeah, they exist, they're fine, and I don't really care that much. I think Ill Communication is the better album.
Oh, unfortunately, me and Tricks outnumber you.
Sure, but
Yeah.
you could take your Led Zeppelin rips and your fucking Jimmy Page rips. I just love the audacity of doing two Led Zeppelin fucking samples and then in the middle of that fucking calling out Jimmy Page for like underage girls or whatever.
Yeah.
That's a way to open an album. I'll give you that. But fucking
It, yeah.
songs like She's Crafty and Girls, it's like, all right, guys, sure. What the fuck ever.
Here's kind of my take. I think the Beastie Boys functioned better as a hardcore act than as a hip hop
Oh,
act.
yeah, and I think again, Ill Communication also proves that.
Yeah.
Fucking tough guy
Like
fucking
Mullet Head.
riffs. Mullet Head's great. I
Mullet
think
Head, which is a B side, and it's not even on the album.
like Heart Attack Man also goes pretty fucking hard.
Oh yeah.
And, like Sabotage is fun because Sabotage at least is like true rap rock.
Mhm.
Oh no, Sabotage is forever their best song.
But like even in the context of the record, kind of like, related to what you were saying, it's like I don't really feel like it doesn't feel special to me because it's like, yeah, it's there.
Yeah. I will say I ran around a parking garage the other day while listening to Sabotage. Fully recommend.
Hell yeah.
No, I think my kind of take is still, I think License to Ill, when it comes to doing a minimalistic sound and doing it as a coherent, I think it's the better album. I think Ill Communication does still have those standalone highlights. And I think the better songs are on Ill Communication. But as an album in full, I think it's some better on License to Ill. I mean, there's still a bunch of other Beastie Boys records, and they definitely did have some sound changes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would take Intergalactic over so much of these other songs anyway, any day of the week.
That's fair. I would like to point out how License to Ill has probably one of the coolest album covers that you can't see on streaming because it's a fold out.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's the fucking plane crashing into something, but it turns into a joint. It's got "Eat Me" written on the back of it.
Hell yeah. It's crashing into a mountain is the idea.
Yes.
But I mean, like, I think there's an argument you can make that Beastie Boys are kind of tongue in cheek and kind of a comedy act in some ways. Like, Girls on its face is a fucking ridiculous song, and they must know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. It's kind of disappointing when like you just know what like comedy rap is now, and it's like looking at this like I know it's the '80s, but like come the fuck on. It's more interesting as like an early Def Jam record than anything else.
Mm-hmm. I will say very good use of sampling on both records.
I mean, Ill Communication is fucking Plunderphonics basically.
Mm-hmm.
Like having more of a jazz influence and having that stuff. That's why I think I gravitate toward that one more. But like, I don't know. I see why the Avalanches did what they did.
I mean, the Avalanches did a massive mile ahead of this. I mean, granted, yeah, it's a couple of years later as well, but
Mm-hmm.
I feel like comparing any Plunderphonics to the Avalanches, it's just going like, yeah, this is cool, but here's the best.
Right, but we're talking about a 6-year difference here where they probably would have
Yeah.
listened to Ill Communication and be like, shit, we could do that.
Yeah.
I mean, well, that's a possibility. Ill Communication was a popular album in Australia. I mean, most Beastie Boys records were. They were pretty popular universally. I don't know. I don't feel like there's too much really special now to kind of just talk about these records other than just the little single highlights. I think it's like, yeah, there's these little cool moments that they do, but we're not really going back to this and going like, but look at all these deep cuts and stuff like that. How great are they? I mean, I think they're fine. I think Girls, which you're obviously criticizing, I can understand why. I don't think that's a song to really ever to think too much into, but it is also just a period of the time that this type of rap was was created in.
They kicked out their female band member because she didn't fit the tough guy image.
Yep.
Beastie Boys, not Beastie Boys and Girl.
Oh, they
Girls
could
can
have
be
kept.
boys too.
They could have kept the original name, the Young Aborigines.
Yeah, that would have been worse. They definitely had a bit of edge that they kind of seem to have realized early, at least with some of these titles, that they probably weren't the best to put out.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be a Dominic.
I would also like to mention the fact that will never not be hilarious to me, and that is that the first like authorized political use of sabotage was for a Joe Biden campaign ad.
That's almost sad. That's kind of a waste.
It is. And you just see milquetoast Biden walking to fucking sabotage. It's honestly hilarious, and it shouldn't be.
I mean, you always get those Republicans dancing to killing
in the name of.
Yeah.
And then there's my favorite one is the woman who's wearing Blue Lives Matter flag as a cape.
Do you think that Joe Biden has heard Sabotage before that?
Oh,
probably. It was a pretty big song.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, he's Joe Biden. He's been in politics since the 70s.
Something tells me Obama would have like had it on or something because Obama listens to cool music.
That's fair. Would love to see Joe Biden release his fucking favorite books and albums of the year. That'd be very funny.
Baby Shark by Pink Frog. Ah.
Here's another Bach
How
album.
you doing, fellow kids?
How many Bach albums did you find that week? Wasn't it like 20 something?
Yeah.
And now added to the summer playlist, it's my uselessness caught on tape from Elizabeth Whitington.
That'd be fucking sick. Holy shit.
Honestly,
it's the sound of the summer.
I now want to like Photoshop up like some official looking White House press and do like a fake Biden account and just do like the most shitpost Biden music pics.
Yeah, I feel like there's always just any irony in any politician using an anti-political song. It's like, yeah, it's kind of directed at you too.
Yep.
I think there is a
go ahead.
I think there is a world in which I might be interested in some of the other albums like Paul's Boutique. But
all right.
Or Hot Sauce Committee Part 2, which I remember being hyped for that one a little bit as a kid and then never listening to it because I didn't really have any way of listening to it.
Yeah.
Like Paul's Boutique is like known for its sampling and like for being forward thinking on that front.
Yes.
But beyond that, I'm just like, for all of your big classic picks, this is the one that's like, yeah, okay.
I figured it would be that way. This was honestly just a pick of like, yeah, I listened to them today. Those will be fun to do. This was just like a total impulse pick.
Like, I don't know. I think if you love them that much and your favorite song of all time is Sabotage, like not
it's not.
No, I'm just thinking of J.J. Abrams specifically.
Fair enough.
I kind of just think you got to listen to more music.
Yeah.
I mean, I will defend Sabotage. I think it's a fantastic song. It stands out in our discography. Same with Intergalactic. I don't think there's real. I mean, outside of probably the new style and Paul Revere, not much really actually stands out on License to Ill. I mean, No Sleep Till Brooklyn is a classic, yeah, but it's not one of my favorites or anything like that. And
yeah.
I know it's always been a satirical song. I've never been a big Fight for Your Right fan.
Fight for Your Right is just an early version of Parents Just Don't Understand.
Yeah. I will say I am a fan of the drink Brass Monkeys, which is malt liquor and orange juice.
Oh,
it's like a white trash mimosa, and I fucking love it.
I was wondering what was in there. I just didn't look it up. I think the song is kind of annoying though.
It is annoying. You drink like a 40 of Old English or Colt 45 or whatever down to the label, then fill it up with orange juice.
Oh, that reminds me, Tricks. Have you had Malort?
I have not, and I want to try it because I think I'll like it.
I should have had you hit Malort when you were here, but we can fix that next time.
Yeah, because I do plan on coming back out to Chicago. We will do the proper Chicago shit when we have more time in Chicago. You know.
Yes.
I think this is the cue for us to wrap this up because I think we're getting a bit.
No, I mean,
A
yeah,
bit done,
this
yeah.
is it. For doing two Beastie Boys albums, there's not much to talk about. They are, I think, Ill Communications are interesting because of the jazziness and like the amount of interludes there are, and just like what it does. But even then, I'm just like, I would never call this my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, I prefer as an album License to Ill, but I think the highlights are probably on Ill Communication. Yeah, I'm not
Yes.
as big into early Beastie Boys as I used to be.
These are just fun to put on. I think. Like that's literally, they're just
Sure.
fun to listen to. They were fun to like listen to with everybody in the kitchen because like I'm the one punk and everybody else is into hip hop. So it was just like this weird moment of bridging solidarity where it's like, oh yeah, we all like this shit.
My favorites from License to Ill, I'll put as Ryman, Stealin', Hold It Now, Hit It, and Time to Get Ill. My least favorites are Girls and Brass Monkey. For Ill Communication, I will put Sabotage is good. I can't deny that. I like Get It Together and Do It. Flute Loop is kind of fun as well. And Heart Attack Man goes hard. My
Mhm.
least favorite, you're probably looking at something like B-Boys Making with the Freak Freak. Or I don't know, just something weird. Futterman's Rule was pretty cool too, actually. But yeah.
Yeah. I again, I don't really have favorites or least favorites for these. They're just kind of there. I just picked them because I think they're fun, and that's about all I'll say on them.
Yeah, and Tricks, that's totally valid.
We're gonna rank all this. Fuck.
Hey, we're coming up on the end of
Let
the year
me
here. We're gonna be free from this for a little while.
let me
Alright.
pull up the whatchamafallit.
I'll get started on all this actually.
Yeah.
Least favorite out of all this. Honestly, I gotta have to go for the one that's got just no highlights, and that's unfortunately wholly split. Then I'm going to be putting up because we're kind of comparing all these in a weird way. I'm going to be putting I am 100 Gex ripoff after that. Then because of the shortness of it, I'm going to put I don't know the best actually. Yeah, I'll do 100 Gex ripoff. Then I'm going to do Duality of Doomsday. Then I'm going to do hand signals just because of the shortness of it. It's a bit ruder to put ahead of it.
Mhm.
Then I'm going to do Ill Communication, then License to Ill. They're both kind of in the sense of it. Actually, they're kind of tied. They're kind of all tied, and I put Doris's birthday cards and the line who's shot back around there as well. I wouldn't consider this to be anything kind of set in stone. Then that's probably going to be making a more consistent spiral and Under the Light of the Air Conditioner #1. I don't know if I got them all. It's too much for me to care.
That's pretty much everything, yeah.
Yeah.
Tricks, you can go ahead if you have it ready.
Okay, I'm just gonna kind of riff off the top. I'm looking at the list. Yeah, I'll go with Holy Split at the bottom. And then I think I'm going to put I'm 100 Gex rip off there. And then I'm not going to give explanations. This is just how it makes
Yeah.
sense in my head. And then hand signals. And then I will put in shit. We'll go birthday cards. Ill Communications, License to Ill. Duality of Doomsday. Making a more or no, I'm gonna put Salem's Corydalis, the Lion Who Shot Back first. Then Elizabeth Whittington making a more consistent spiral. And I think I just have Mouse left to put at the top.
Yeah.
And yeah, Under the Light of the Air Conditioner is my favorite this week.
All right, so I'm not too far off in mine. So yeah, Holy Split's at the bottom. Unfortunately, sorry. Could have made better songs, I guess. After that, I'm gonna put Ben Quad. Nothing against it. It's just 2 songs.
Yep.
And then this comes down to, yes, this album is better technically, but am I really gonna go back to this very much? No, not at all. After this, gonna be Licensed to Ill. Because I'll probably more likely come back to I'm 100 Gex ripoff and Duality of Doomsday more often. Those are above it. Then Ill Communication. And then, like I said, I did the Illya plus Sports streaming album version. So I'm going to put that above Ill Communication because the sports stuff is there and that's the best stuff on Macy. After that, we're going to do The Lion Who Shot Back, then Doris, then Elizabeth Whittington, and then Mouse.
I can't believe I won with just a random pick again. I'm just that good.
Yeah.
That is, congratulations, Mouse. That is a universal #1. We only do that once a week.
Once a month, maybe.
Yeah. It's
not bi-weekly.
But yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely am bi-weekly.
I'm a-weekly?
I am just whatever. Now we have a new episode too. Yep.
Yeah, let's pick what we're doing next week. What have I got pasted in here? It's 2 non-emo albums, like I promised. And I somehow managed to get this as red and blue on Spotify, seeming as one of them is called 3D Country. This is so unintentional, but it's fucking funny. Yeah, so we're doing Geese's 3D Country, and we're doing Genesis Owusu's Struggler. Just kind of catching up on some of the non-emo stuff of this year that I've enjoyed as an album. Figured we'd just get us on some cover it, give us a bit of a break before Dominic completely ruins that by picking another emo artist.
So I'm actually also going to be picking up another emo artist, too.
Never mind. There we go. Well, one of you choose. That's my picks for next week.
So I was also going to take a break from doing emo artists this week. I want to clear up some stuff that I've had on the docket the entire year.
All right.
I'm going to start off light. We're going to do an album that I discovered on my own that I thought was interesting sounding. We're going to do the album Pollen by Tennis. After that, this is an EP that we've covered a version of this a year ago, but this is that was a single. This is technically the EP now. The Submersive Behavior by Tropical Fluxstorm.
Ooh.
Which is basically the Moonburn, but different.
Yes.
And then lastly, for a bit of housekeeping, I'm going to say this is still true, but I'm going to confirm it right now by looking. But I am pretty sure Out West never released their album onto Bandcamp, their EP.
I don't think they did.
The Out West has never released All the Wild Horses on their Bandcamp, an EP that was meant to come out January 1st, 2023. However, Ritz did point out that it is available for streaming.
Yep.
So we're gonna cover that because I just want to know what the fuck.
Sounds good.
I'm not going to add it onto the list because we're already going to have too much. But I just realized I could have picked Underscores and that would have also been a blue one, but it would have removed the 3D Country.
What does red and blue mean? What are you talking about?
It's on Spotify. It's a red background to Struggler and it's a blue background to 3D Country. And that's for 3D, it's red and blue.
Oh, that's fun.
Yes.
All right, Trix, what do you got?
I have 3 picks this week. I have one album Dominic put me up to. I have a cleanup of singles and just kind of an EP collection and just weird shit from Mike Kroll. We're doing just kind of the cleanup on him. And
Fair enough.
I'm also going to do a band we have never mentioned on the podcast or in chat at all.
Okay.
So I'll start with the one that Dominic put me up to, and that is We Will Look Back at You and Love You Forever, self-titled.
I had a feeling that I didn't need to pick. I was tempted to pick it, and then I had a feeling that wouldn't be needed. But congratulations, Trix. You just made We Will Look Back at You and Love You Forever one of the few artists that every single one of us picked.
Yes.
Which is why I assumed Dominic put you onto it.
And
he was. We figured we were going to do it this week anyways, so.
I just said if Ritz did not pick it, please pick it. Because I was going to do other stuff.
Yes, and once I get off the chat, I will post a YouTube playlist of 11 songs, I think it is, and most of them are really short, of just Mike Kroll stuff we haven't covered. And I also have to trim 2 songs out of a podcast from another podcast that aren't available anywhere else, and I will put those on the drive tomorrow. But we're just going to do a cleanup of everything Mike Kroll that we haven't covered, including his Christmas song, his work on the Steven Universe movie, everything.
Okay.
And then my last wild card pick, we're going to be doing an album from the band Chumbawamba.
Oh, hell yeah.
We're going to be doing The Boy Bands Have Won, and all the copyists and the tribute bands and the TV talent show producers have won. If we allow our culture to be shaped by mimicry, whether from lack of ideas or from exaggerated respect, you should never try to freeze culture. What you can do is recycle that culture, take your older brother's hand-me-down jacket and restyle it, refashion it to the point where it becomes your own. But don't just regurgitate creative history or hold art and music and literature as fixed, untouchable, and kept under glass. The people who try to guard any particular form of music are like the copyists and manufactured bands. Doing it is the worst disservice because the only thing you can do to music that will damage it is not change it, not make it your own, because then it dies, then it's over, then it's done, and the boy bands have won.
Incredible.
That is the Guinness Book of World Records entry for the longest album title.
Yes, and I did not practice that at all.
I've got to say the apologies in this. I've got to personally wrap up here, so good
Bounce,
luck
Rich.
for announcing all this shit. I've been Riddon, and you can catch me on our website, riddonforkids@github.io, my YouTube channel in the description below. Have a good week of listening, everyone.
Bye.
All right. Well, that was unceremonious, but I will just repeat everything just for the sake of it.
Okay.
Okay. Ritz has chosen 3D Country by Geese, Struggler by Genesis Owusu. I have chosen Pollen by Tennis, Submersive Behavior by Tropical Fuckstorm, and All the Wild Horses EP by Out West. You, Trix, have chosen the self-title by We Will Look Back at You and Love You Forever, a cleanup on Mike Kroll's stuff, and the Chumbawamba album. I'm gonna try it. The boy bands have won, and all the copyists and the tribute bands and the TV talent show producers have won. If we allow our culture to be shaped by mimicry, whether from lack of ideas or from exaggerated respect, you should never try to freeze culture. What you can do is recycle that culture, take your older brother's hand-me-down jacket and restyle it, refashion it to the point where it becomes your own. But don't just regurgitate creative history or hold art and music and literature as fixed, untouchable, and kept under glass. The people who try to guard any particular form of music are, like the copyists and manufactured bands, doing it the worst disservice, because the only thing that you can do to music that will damage it is not change it, not make it your own, because then it dies, then it's over, then it's done. And the boy bands have won.
Yes.
Didn't even know Chumbawamba was making music still like that. But here we go.
Yeah. I chose it purely off the title, I'm not going to lie.
That is totally fair.
And mostly because I'm just curious how many times in the recording we're going to say the entire album title.
But that's going to do it for Dissonant Waves this week. My name is Dominic. You can catch me online at DACICHOCKI on Twitter. Chikoki on YouTube. I'm on the Games My Mom Found podcast. Sometimes we did an episode about Shadow Hearts. You can find that on YouTube in the link below, etc., etc.
I have been Tricks. You can catch me on Twitter and basically everywhere else. You can find me on the internet. I spread liberally like syphilis. Check out our Twitter, our Blue Sky, our merch store, our YouTube page. I mean, have you heard of this cool website called YouTube?
Oh boy, have I.
Anyways, dissonantwaves.space, and yeah.
That's going to do it for us as we wind down the year. Have a fantastic week. Happy listening. Bye-bye. Say bye, Tricks.
Bye.